So it is August. It's the August edition of Frame by Frame. Again, the year is just whizzing by. We're really in the midst of summer now. The summer blockbuster is upon us. We've seen a few of those at Saffron Screen recently, but unfortunately, what you will not see or hear on this podcast is our dear friend and colleague Riley. Riley is away, have to attend to something else, so you'll have to put up with just me and Amelie for the time being.
Just for this month, unfortunately, just us two, and Zach is hosting, which usually is Riley's job, but I'm sure he'll do a brilliant job
Well,
filling in those
that
shoes.
remains to
We'll
be
see.
seen. There
We'll
remains
see.
to be seen.
Touch wood.
But yeah, we've had a really great month in the last month. In July, we've seen now a lot of the films we were sort of previewing last time, and I think the film that a lot of us were really excited about, and then we've all kind of rushed to go see is Superman. So we're gonna say like I got a quick word on Superman, just as a little bit of review because I feel like it's a really big cultural
Oh,
moment, much more
definitely.
than a lot of these superhero films have been recently.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's truly got everyone talking. I mean, I mean, some people I know have said it's their favorite superhero movie since maybe the 90s, the late 90s. It seems like it's one of the biggest films, one of the biggest blockbusters that we've had in a while, in a few years, I feel like.
Yeah, like my mum is interested in seeing
Yeah,
Superman. And again, I mean, her vision of Superman is Christopher Reeve,
yeah.
all of that. It's not like she's followed the DC. I think she might have watched Man of Steel, but it's not like she followed the DCEU with, all those movies.
And
Um,
it feels so great that this is kind of obviously starting the new era of DC, and
yeah,
it feels kind of right for everyone to be kind of on the same page going forward. They're all experiencing the start of the new DC together, so I think
yeah.
that's a really cool thing.
I have a bit of a funny story with how I saw it. Or I mean, it's a pretty cool story. So I saw it. I booked out well in advance to see it with my
Yeah,
brother. I ended up seeing it, unfortunately, not at Saffron Screen, but I saw it at Leicester Square. We saw it at the View in Leicester Square because
lovely.
me and my brother, are massive Superman fans. Um, and again, it was great opening night, like packed house. Every joke that people cracked and they laughed. During sort of I won't spoil anything for those who haven't seen it, but during sort of the rousing speech that Superman gives at the end, someone at my screening yelled out "F yeah" at the end of it, and everyone
I love
started
that.
clapping. And as if this experience wasn't enough for me, I went back. So I was in London, and then I went back home,
Yeah.
and then literally like a day later, my cousin who I hadn't seen in a while is like, "Hey, Zach, I'm going to Leicester Square with a few friends to see Superman. Would you be interested in seeing it?" And I was like, "Well, I've already seen it, but yes."
But
And then I saw
absolutely,
it.
of
Yeah, I
course.
saw it again at the
Yep.
Odeon this time, and it was. I actually liked it even more the second time round. Um, Not having everything in my mind what people have said about it, and it was a very different experience not watching it with an audience versus with an
Yeah.
audience. But if
Yeah.
you can watch it with friends, I think that is sort of like the best way to watch it. But again, I just think there's a great atmosphere kind of like
Oh yeah,
around this film.
definitely. I mean, it feels so heartfelt, and it's I saw it by myself actually because I just saw it
Mm.
after work one day. It was there was like no other time that I could see it because that was opening night and I really wanted to see it opening night.
Yeah,
Um so I saw it by myself. But even still it was such a feel of community in the cinema. I mean, it was people kind of recognizing this as the new hope for superhero movies,
yeah.
obviously. And I really want to go again. I just haven't had the
Mm.
time. I've been so busy, but I think yeah, it will be an equally good, or if not better, experience the second time around.
Yeah. I'd say it improves on a rewatch, and I even
Okay.
heard more negative reviews before I'd come to see it the second time, and had those in my mind, and I was like, actually, no, those things aren't true about the film.
No.
And again, everyone that I know that's seen it has really enjoyed it, and
Oh
I kind of
yeah,
like it as well
definitely.
because it has a bit more generational appeal. I feel like Superman, it just hits this nostalgic thing in so many people that I think even our
Yeah,
audience, that they're not the the typically young out of school crowd that goes and sees all the Marvel movies. And I
exactly
think
that.
Superman might be a film that if you sort of abandon that genre, or you think like I'm too old for that genre, that's like for kids or whatever. I think Superman, yes, will have those elements, does have those elements that appeal to kids, but also this one has a lot of the things that like people remember and love about like Christopher Reeve's Superman, which adults, people,
Yeah.
and older people now still love, and I think that
Mm.
channels some of the spirit of that. And so
I
I
think,
think Superman's, he means different things to different people of different
yeah,
ages.
I think also it's really easy to be able to follow this film from a perspective of not focusing too much on the superhero part of it, because obviously
Yeah,
everyone knows the obviously everyone has some sort of idea of the plot of Superman, how Superman came to be, his origin story,
yeah,
and even if you're not fully familiar, it's very easy to follow. So you can
mm,
kind of get lost in the characterization and the relationships between these characters, and kind of just a really good, well done story that follows like a brilliant conflict setup. I feel like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's a really human story, and that's perhaps
yeah,
one of the biggest themes in the film. And again, that's the type of films that people love at Saffron Screen, and trying to channel some of the films that we've had here, which are a bit more independently minded, and
yeah,
again tell an intimate human story. Like we had
absolutely,
just recently, we've just had the marching band, which I know a lot of people really want the kind of more art house films back again, and they want the foreign language films, and this was both of those. Again, it was like a great film with like again an intimate, human, touching story with a backdrop of like kind of this, the marching band and this music, and how they, like how Superman kind of delivers its a human story through a more hyperbolic fantasy sort of
yeah.
story. The marching band kind of got it through music. It was a lot of the medium that they used to channel it. My audience in Leicester Square clapped at Superman at the end, and in Saffron Screen they clapped for the marching band at the end.
That's really nice. Yeah,
And like, yeah, it's just like if something touches you like that and
yeah,
you feel moved at the end of the film, you're going to act like that. So, or this month in August, we have a lot of different films, and we have those independent films, um, and we have those big blockbusters, and we hope all of them have that kind of element of a human story. But one that definitely does is a film that's playing towards the beginning of the month, or at least starts to play at the beginning of the month, which is The Ballad of Wallis Island, which I know a lot of people have been excited about. I first heard about this film. I don't know how much you know about this film, Amelie,
not
but
a lot at all. I'm ready for you to dive
okay.
in and tell
Yes.
me.
Okay, so this again, actually, it follows a similar theme to the marching band in terms of, as obviously from the title, the Ballad of Wallace Island. It has a musical theme to it as well, and it's also a comedy drama, but it deals with sort of but it's still it very much has an intimate and human story at the center of it. But I first heard about this film a few months ago when one of our volunteers, she'd seen it and raved about it, and she was very, she was kind of, even if not directly, kind of pleading that we would show it or something like it here, because she didn't at the time. We didn't have any plans to, and I don't know if this ended up being fed up the chain of command, or whether the people, the powers that be, whether they made this decision independently to show it. But either way,
I mean, I was just gonna say, if there is something that that for our listeners, especially if there is something that is coming up that we aren't showing that you would like to be shown, mention it to staff, and we will. Obviously, we have little control, but we'll see what we can do. And
yeah.
sometimes, as you said, it does happen.
And you can email as well, info at Saffron Screen. You might get a response as well. Yeah, but back to the Ballad of Wallace Island, which again I hope is one that the whole town enjoys. So this is a film that's directed by James Griffith, who is this is only his second feature film. He's done a few bits and pieces of work in TV, and notably, which I'll kind of get onto a bit later, he also, well as basically everyone else in this film, was involved in the creation of the short film on which it's based. So it's also written by and starring Tom Baston, who is a comedy, again, more of a comedy actor, comedy writer. I know him for being one of the main parts in Afterlife. He's Ricky Gervais's late wife's brother, I think,
Sure.
is
Yes.
the relation. But anyway, you'd kind of know him from a few things,
Yeah.
and he writes it alongside the stars alongside Tim Key, who is also likewise a comedy actor. You would have known him and like seen him on panel shows. He's a comedian. But they were in a sketch group together called the Cowards, which they kind of developed after meeting at Cambridge Footlights, which is a university, like the university's kind of comedy troupe. Um, but anyway, this film again, it follows a similar story, not exactly the same to the short film which it's based, which has the funny name of the one and only Herb Maguire plays Wallis Island. Is the name of the original one. But yeah, it follows a similar premise. So it follows a wealthy widower called Charles Heath, who is played by Tim Key. He hires his late wife's favourite musician, who is called Herb Maguire, or at least that's his stage name, to perform on this kind of remote Welsh island that he lives on. But when Herb gets there, he finds out that he's not been booked to play a small venue on this private island to maybe Charles and some of his rich friends. He's been booked to just play to Charles and no one else. Uh, yeah, as a little
Right.
private gig. And at the same time, another shock comes his way where he finds out that Charles is also booked Nell Mortimer, who he used to be part of a folk duo with, and they broke up years ago.
Wow.
She retired, and he's continued to try and take on this pop solo career, which he's slightly kind of floundering
Of
in, and
course.
he hopes
Yeah.
this will kind of be a boost of money to kind of get him somewhere. But as you can kind of tell with all these kind of things going on, old memories, tensions are explored, and that's kind of it's the relationship between all these kind of central three characters as they're kind of all put together again on this island. And like I said, it's adapted from 2007 short film. That short film focuses mainly just on Charles and Herb. There is no Nell character in that film, so this is a development they made. But it continues over a lot of the same sort of feeling. It's a feeling of realism, but it is also comedic. It's kind of really awkward, funny, sort of stilted dialogue, almost feeling improvised, and it's very very understated. It was nominated for the BAFTA for the best short film at the time, and yeah, it carries through a lot of those elements. Which, when I heard the story, and actually when this volunteer first told me the story was, I never guessed that it was a comedy. I thought like, oh, this is a really like intimate experience, like him and this guy, and they're like he's going through like his late wife's favorite musician, and he's
Yeah.
having this private
Exactly.
concert, and he gets an insight into into each other's hearts and minds, and and there is that, but it also is it's something that very much is trying to realize the absurdity of that situation as well, and it presents it in a very comic way. So yeah, while it takes on those serious themes, it also is like it's not that he's some weird wealthy guy who can like spend his money however he wants because he's this like weird Jeff Bezos character or something. He's like a really normal dude who won the lottery twice.
Mm.
Like that's why he's rich, because he won like so.
That's not a normal dude. He's got
No,
some like crazy karma, crazy good karma.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like the whole thing is that he gets rich, I think, before his wife dies, and then
Yeah.
at least in the original short film, he like spends all of the money, and then she dies, and he gets he wins again. So he's still rich. From like so he could hire this guy. It's like so it has like the absurdity of that situation. It like takes the funniness of that situation of this really this folk singer, this pop or this guy budding pop singer being forced out to like be with this one dude
Yeah.
who again is a big fan of him and knows everything about him, and obviously to him he's just a random dude. And I think if you struggling to like think of the humor in it, or the humor in the situation, it's like if you think about something like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, if you've ever seen that film. Character played by Pedro Pascal like hires out Nicolas Cage because he's such a big Nicolas Cage fan to like hang out with him for the weekend or whatever. Like
Yeah, I mean,
it
imagine your favorite celebrity. Imagine if you just hired them out to just come and sit in your house with you for
yeah,
days on end. Yeah,
yeah. So it has the funny awkwardness to it,
yeah,
and that's kind of, and again, that's kind of it gets across in especially Herb and Charles's personalities.
sure.
Uh, Especially all the reviews sort of emphasize the fact that James Badston, who plays Herb, he's kind of like this silent type. He's kind of thoughtful. He's doing a lot of acting with his face, whereas Tim Key's character Charles is just like he is like he can't stop talking. Is kind of his thing. He's awkward. He
Okay.
knows everything about him. He can't leave like any silence or anything. So this guy's like too cool for school, and he's just like this really awkward, bumbling guy. He can't stop speaking. He can't stop making himself known.
I guess that's just the added factor of kind of he he probably doesn't really know how to kind of function in his wife's absence, and he's trying to fill these spaces where she would have been talking to him, and maybe that's why
Yeah,
he's hired someone to kind of be a companion for him.
there is almost different ways of dealing with something that happened because there's also the implication somewhat that maybe what was it that separated Nell and Herb, and was there anything,
Yeah,
was there a relationship there, and how did that split apart? So they're kind of, again, reading some of the reviews, especially, like what's emphasized is that they're both lost souls. One's you know a man of few words, and one is a man of too many.
yeah,
But they're both kind of lost souls, and then there's this kind of interaction that happens between the connection, despite in spite of that. And again, some of the humor is in that. It's a quite good quote from one of the reviews, which says 90% of the writing is bad jokes, performed so snugly in character by especially by Tim Key, they're funnier than most of the good ones. So, and then the rest of the 10% is choked desolation and very touching indeed. That's what I mean. Like that's what he's filling the void with. Is he's filling the
yes,
void with, like, he has to say like almost useless non
yeah,
jokey phrases and things. Really, like, and again, it's the balance of the melancholy and the funny throughout the whole movie. The only thing that I've really seen people saying as a negative, like, basically it's been universally positive. Everyone that's seen the film that I know has thought it's brilliant. Everyone that I read the reviews of has said that it's really good. The only thing I've seen people say is, like, obviously everyone loves Carey Mulligan, and she's who plays Nell Mortimer in the film. And a lot of people feel like she's not given quite enough to do, or not necessarily enough to do, but she's surprisingly not that key
okay,
to it. That's what people have said. People weren't necessarily like criticizing it as like the narrative. They were just saying, like, basically, I really love Carey Mulligan, and she's in it
yeah.
less than I
I
thought
wanted
she would
more of
be.
her. Yeah,
Yeah, basically. I mean, she basically. I mean, it's still sort of like, she comes in and does a good performance and does her bit, but
yeah, of
it's sort of
course.
knowing that really it's between, again, the two writers of the movie. Surprise, surprise, have put themselves as really the central characters. Um,
I feel like maybe that would only be a negative for people that were going into the movie for Carey Mulligan,
mm,
whereas I feel like I will be going into this for the actual plot and and what you've described. So I feel like that won't be that much of an issue for me.
yeah, yeah, and I think that is what probably most people will do. I mean, it's got like
Yeah.
an artistic sensibility to
Hmm.
it. I feel like most people will be interested in that concept more than anything.
Sure. Of
But yeah,
course.
it is interesting, and I guess that is also again reflective of its source material, if you like, because again, she wasn't even a character in the short film.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
so the main arc is, of course, about Herb and about Charles, and about really what they're uh, how they're going to develop from coming back from grief, coming back from trying to find a new life on his own, and dealing with his own past demons and things. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this being at Saffron Screen and how people find it. I mean, I love film. I mean, we obviously introduced this by started talking about Superman at first, but I love films that are able to sort of touch upon very human issues, very
Absolutely.
meaningful things, whilst actually doing it in a vehicle that is entertaining rather than dry and sour and miserable. Like, Superman obviously has the fun of the action, is also kind of silly at points. in a really enjoyable way. And this is again the same. It's like you have the weird kind of awkward jokes. But it's very like very uniquely kind of British sense of humor.
Yes, and I
Um,
feel like it is very interesting that they've gone with this approach as opposed to what maybe the narrative gives it gives us kind of a given, which is a kind of understated, slower
yeah,
film. It's interesting and probably for the better that they've decided to mix that in.
they work well together to tell that story and to kind of
Exactly.
make it more digestible in a
Yes.
way. Again, it's kind of like you describe the outline of the plot. Maybe people would find it funny that he's performing to one person, maybe in that description. But it's quite it's somewhat hard to make it sound from the plot description that it's funny. And again, I had this problem
Right.
with the marching band when I
Exactly.
was trying to
Yeah.
rave about the marching band to someone, and I was like, oh yeah, it's about this guy, gets leukemia and he has to get a bone marrow transplant. He finds out he has a long lost brother, and that he was adopted and he didn't know it, and and like and everyone was just like, what? That just sounds like a really serious drama. Doesn't sound funny. And I was like, yeah, but watch the film, and
Yeah.
it is funny.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. So you mentioned that the first screening is kind of towards the start of August. When can we see this if we're hoping to catch it at Saffron Screen?
so yeah, it is on for the first time at Saturday, the 2nd of August at 7:30 p.m. But then this is kind of odd that we do this, but then it is on again twice, much later in the month. So it is on again on the Saturday, the 16th of August at 7:30 p.m. and then Sunday, the 17th of August at 2:30 p.m. So that's during the day, that final screening. And so those are the three we have. If this is the type of films that you like kind of more independently minded movies, you like things that are a bit more intimate, come to Saffron Screen and kind of and watch these films and send the signal that that's kind of what you'd like to see more of. But yeah,
Yeah.
hope to see everyone there. The Ballad of Wallis is not the only intimate human drama that we have, because we have Hot Milk, which Amelie is going to talk to us a little bit about. So I'll pass it on.
Yeah. So I am really excited for this one. Firstly, I'll just mention who the fact that it's directed by a woman named Rebecca Lenkovich, who is originally a playwright, and this is her feature film debut. So it's always a treat to kind of have one of them on a film debut. Yeah, especially as a Monday night film, which this is going to be, which I know a lot of people have been asking about for quite a few months. I mean, with blockbusters like Mission Impossible, because we get them so early to release date, we do have to show them a certain amount of times. So that's why sometimes it's not possible for us to have our Monday night films be kind of the art house cycle that we are so used to. But it is really nice to have that back. And this should be a really good one. So you've got it's a really great cast actually, quite a small cast. Fiona Shaw, who is most known for playing Petunia Dursley in the Harry Potter films, and also Killing Eve. She was quite a big role in.
Hmm.
But she's also very well versed in theatre. And then it also stars so she's playing Rose, and then Emma Mackey stars as her daughter Sophia, and she's most known for playing Maeve Wiley in Sex Education, which is a British comedy series.
Hmm.
And also she's been in films like Death on the Nile and Barbie, most recently as well. So yeah, a couple of brilliant actresses, and basically they tell the story of the two of them traveling to the Spanish town of Almeria.
Spanish is not my strong suit.
I
Yeah,
believe
I'm
there's
gonna let you say it as wrong as you like.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
someone will correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
And they travel to meet Dr. Gomez, who um, could possibly cure Rose's mystery illness that has left her wheelchair bound for many years. I believe most or if not all of Sophia's life, all of her
Hmm.
daughter's life. Um, and this it's basically described as kind of an erotic drama, and it follows the story of Sophia kind of breaking free of the chains that this breaking free of the chains that have been caused by her mother's illness and by her being a carer for her mother her entire life. So she basically sheds her inhibitions and she begins to break free when she meets this enigmatic traveler named Ingrid, who is played by Vicky Creeps, I believe, and she's from Luxembourg. She's also from Germany. She starred in the period drama Phantom Threads. I
Hmm.
don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
that.
Paul
Yeah,
Thomas Anderson. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. And yeah, it's described as kind of dramatic, and it follows it follows a layout of sort of connection to, I believe it's pathetic fallacy, is that what it's called, where you kind of match the weather to the
yeah,
emotion of,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
the emotion of the movie. So you've got um you've got reviewers saying that as the hot sun beats down, the relationship between the mother and the daughter, that is, their
yeah.
relationship simmers with pent up resentments and bitterness, and fragile threads hold them together, and all threatens to break. So it becomes this sort of revealing, tense film, where in which
Mm.
um, kind of feelings that have been pent up for years, that she's had kind of no outlet for, as the daughter. I mean, we get in the trailer many references to the fact that their family is only the two of them, and
Yeah.
Sophia feels like she's been so trapped her entire life that she really has had no outlet, um, or really knowledge that she could break free from her mother. She's just been so tied down to caring for her,
Mm.
basically her entire life.
So,
Um,
out of interest,
yeah,
because obviously we've kind of got these different tensions going both ways, and different characters, like the two different main characters experiencing kind of different problems, which they're both in a way trying to rid themselves
yeah.
of. Whose sympathies do we think that we're meant to, who are we meant to be aligned with in this story, or are we meant to be kind of aligned with either one of them?
I honestly couldn't really work it out. I think Emma Mackey is credited as the main character, so it is sort of
Hmm.
following Sophia's story because obviously she is the one that meets this outside character, the traveler Vicky, and she kind of she they become intertwined, and that obviously sets off a chain reaction um, with her mother.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I mean reviewers have said that they're quote unquote two daredevil performances from Fiona Shaw and Emma Mackey. So it's two really strong performances, but I think it's more a psychological exploration of
Yeah.
these kind of threads that have been so tightly bound. Um, I mean, someone said that it's quiet, suffocating violence of emotional entanglement and blurred boundaries rather than explosive drama.
Right. Okay. So it's very like more understated than
Right,
it all being on the surface.
that's right. Yeah.
I
So
love a
that would
good
be
I love a
quite
good
interesting.
Leonardo DiCaprio shouting at someone in an argument scene, but like, um, sometimes it's not particularly. Sometimes it's a bit of a blunt force instrument of getting across those
Absolutely.
tensions between two
Yeah.
characters.
And I
Yeah.
think this this narrative calls for it because I mean there probably hasn't been a screaming match in this family. There probably hasn't
Yeah.
been tensions snapped because Sophia has held herself back so much and she's had to care for her mother. She can't just neither of them can just like run away from the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just wondering because obviously, yeah, it's a human story and it's got the tensions between the characters, but you know,
Yeah.
it's they talk about like a mysterious illness. Is that a mysterious illness, or is it like just a vaguely defined illness? Because I was just wondering, is there
I
anything to that?
I don't know. I um it is very interesting that that's how they chose to describe it in
Yeah,
the reviews and in the synopsis of the film.
yeah,
I think there could be a lot more to it, whether it's in the fact that I don't know, maybe she could be exaggerating this
yeah,
illness, or maybe it could be undefined and no one um, can really work out what it is.
Because there's multiple things like springing to my mind, and some of them are
Sure,
like really positive, and some of them are like not great examples. Like
absolutely.
on the not great examples, I think is this McGregor's syndrome from Batman and Robin? Alfred suffers from. I hope not. Made up illness for that movie. Or is it like kind of like what you alluded to there? If anyone's ever watched Better Call Saul, and you had the character of Chuck, and he's like convinced that he's allergic to like electromagnetism and electricity and things, so he can't be around it. But and everyone sort of goes with that, and he's convinced of it, and but he's really smart, and he seems convinced of it. And that's like really compelling as a thing. Like, and you're almost like, even though you're like, well, that can't be real, but there's a weird thing that you maybe start to believe it. So I don't know which of those two that it is, or
I
maybe it's
think
a
it,
third one. But
yeah,
you know,
I think it could be really, really interesting to go down that second route because then you've got kind of the idea of um, her daughter being sort of manipulated her entire life into um, caring for an illness and shaping her entire life around an illness that really isn't as serious as they all think.
yeah,
That could be
yeah,
quite compelling.
because it is interesting, like the idea that they go to Spain and there's this miracle cure now. Like
Yes,
maybe,
and
uh,
suddenly everything starts to unravel in
yeah.
maybe more ways than one.
I don't know. I'm quite excited, and especially I feel like always family tensions and illness and things like even just someone who can play being ill believably. I just always just think it's like great kind of
Yeah.
material for actors as well. So
The I just wanted to mention the
yeah,
trailer is extremely dramatic. It
mm,
I researched this film before I watched the trailer, and the trailer is I mean, you've got a shot of Fiona in the middle of a dark road that is in her wheel. She's in her wheelchair, and the only lights are a car approaching in the distance, and and her daughter Sophia is just stood there next to her. That's just one of the very short clips because
mm,
it's quite a fast-paced,
yeah,
dramatic trailer. And then that's followed by Ingrid, the traveler,
mm,
saying, "Sophie, you're a monster,"
oh,
which is so interesting. And
yeah,
there's also, I mean, there's also a line from Fiona where she says, "I'd rather be dead than shackled, wouldn't you?" And it is implied that she says this to Sophia, and that's
mm,
quite interesting considering the implications that kind of Sophia is shackled in her
yeah.
life connected to Fiona. I don't know. It's just a lot of interesting things in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's always that thing about, I mean, there's obviously loads of debates about it in terms of end of life care and things, isn't there? So it's kind of on poignant issues. And again, how hard it is actually to be someone's carer or
Yeah,
even be,
and
someone
I
who's
guess
completely reliant on you. It's,
yeah, and I guess how much much it takes a toll on
yeah.
your mental well-being
Mm.
and
And just like in terms of digging, because there, it seems like they're digging into something that's quite unpleasant to think
sure,
about, if you know what I
right.
mean. Like, probably when you feel like that, thoughts go through your head which you think you shouldn't be thinking, because obviously
Mm-hmm.
the idea of this car coming through and Maki's character just standing there and not doing anything, and
Yeah,
is that something maybe she wishes for or hopes, because to be free, right, of this of her mother.
exactly right.
It's kind of like, that's a really deep dark thought to contemplate.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
Yeah,
anything you think about, but it's that's kind of why I like films that are willing to explore kind of darker ideas, because it would be it would be easy just to make a film about how heroic someone is for caring about their mother,
yeah,
or and what a great person they are, which there should be movies like that as well. Like, yeah, I just kind of like when they're actually able to explore, like, no, maybe maybe there's a lot of tension through that relationship, maybe that's not a great
yeah.
relationship, or
And I mean, we're talking about kind of the human approach to films a lot on this episode, and
Yeah.
sometimes when you are searching for that more human approach, it does become darker because it sometimes is human nature to kind of dig deeper into those not
Yeah.
so nice um, kind of desires. And
Mm.
that's really interesting to explore as well as kind of you take Superman, the kind of everyone's hero, you know?
Yeah. 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 So like, yeah, really, yeah. Again, I love just yeah. To say again, I love having films like this here, but obviously a lot of our discussion sort of focused on like what themes we kind of think it's about, like what mining into what this all means. But what have people in reviews and online and things been saying about that aspect of it? What are they saying? The themes are what it means.
So, one I was specifically drawn to was it's kind of a two-parter. Um, it focuses on um, really praise for the intricate story and performances rather than the actual plot itself. So the way that the story is done, rather than um, rather than when you drill it down the specific plot.
Events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is always good praise because I mean, what's a plot without it being told well?
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and great performances along with that. A lot of people have praised Emma Mackey and Fiona Shaw's performances and their chemistry, especially, and kind of this like simmering tension between the two of them.
Mm.
And the second part of the review is claiming that the film's themes are sort of resentment, love, deceit, and most of all, power dynamics, the difference
Yeah.
in power dynamics. They've also described it as a jagged and dreamlike film,
Mm.
even all at once, even though those two are quite contrasting adjectives, and they've said that it somehow is both at the same time. Yeah, this jagged and dreamlike story of a mother and daughter locked in codependence is what they said.
Mm. So I mean, it does kind of hit on a few things we were sort of saying, wasn't it? But
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
again, a film that kind of walks the edge between different sort of aspects of life and different different tensions between different themes and things.
I think
And
there's
obviously,
kind of a connection between like the review saying the dreamlike nature of the film, and I guess sort of this
mm,
dreamlike state that the two of them have been living in if they've been living in such isolation sort
yeah,
of together. So yeah, there's a lot of I think it feels like quite a self-aware film,
mm,
um, kind of connecting the way it's made to the themes and relationships of them.
yeah. So if like me, you are excited to see this film, Hot Milk, when can we go and see it?
So, as I mentioned, it is a Monday night film. So, just the one showing, and that's the 18th of August at 7:30. So, yeah, make sure you put it in your diary.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I'm excited. Again, next month, August is looking good because yeah, we've got a range of different films, independent, mainstream, kids films. Again, things like Hot Milk, which are more for mature audiences. And it just makes me happy to have an independent cinema in town.
And I mean, speaking of independent cinemas, Um, the next film that we're going to talk about and sort of discuss a little bit about is a film called The Regulars, which is another Monday night film, which is really great that we're having
Mm,
a couple on this month because we're not always able to do that.
yeah,
So The Regulars is set at the Prince Charles Cinema in London, which, if you know, is it's the only independent cinema left in central London.
Also on Leicester Square, where I
Yes,
watched Superman.
yes.
They were not showing Superman though, I should say.
They're not so fussed about the mainstream movies, which is always great. But anyway, the Regulars is a film about a day in the life of the hapless employees of the Prince Charles Cinema in London. They watch movies, argue with customers, and most of all, deal with each other. So it's all basically a film about this one shift that these cinema employees are sharing. Obviously, this is a really brilliant film for all of us at Saffron Screen because
Yeah,
it it's a representation of independent cinema workers, and that's always one. I always a always a joy to see kind of
yeah,
that represented on screen. I mean, if I will say, I will preface and I will say, if you watch this film and the employees in if they I can't be held
yeah,
responsible for any of their actions, okay?
yeah,
Don't let
yeah.
any of their bad
No,
actions reflect on independent cinema workers because we're not all the same.
yeah, yeah.
Just a
I mean,
preface.
if they're really nice, then obviously
Yeah,
take it
if
as
they're
that.
really nice, then
But
obviously we are all like that.
yeah, but otherwise they're they're nasty Londoners. I mean, they're nothing like
Yes,
us Wardenites. They're completely different. Um,
we've been taught
but
differently. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, no. But no. If I mean, I don't know how much of our audience has been to the Prince Charles either, but yeah, it's a really iconic cinema on Leicester Square, like you said, the only independent one. It's the cheapest one there as well.
Yeah.
And like we alluded to before, it doesn't show mainstream movies. It really is now. It is just a revival house. It just shows old movies. Like you say, it does fun things like the staff picks of mystery movies. Sometimes you
Hmm.
literally will get those mystery screenings where you just walk in and you have no idea what the film is.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Like it's a really unique and artsy place. I mean, it has a somewhat lurid history even in the 70s. Um, it's been changed as a venue and over time, and actually had a period where they thought that it might get closed down recently. So it's nice to see that it is still here, at least for the moment, and we're going to have a record of it with this documentary film. But yeah, it's a really great place. I've been there a few times, and it's kind of not what you expect when you think like. Obviously, it's an independent cinema, so it's not going to be does not have the same look as a big multiplex or even the other cinemas on Leicester Square. But I was really shocked the first time I went there because it's like it has a very grungy feel to it. That's actually what it is. Like obviously you come in like ours has a different kind of homemade feel. Like theirs
Yeah.
is like the screen you go into a basement
Yeah.
and the floor is raked so that the front row is highest like at that level. You know what I mean? Like so not again it's like the opposite of what you would expect. It's really long. Like there's half the seats are you actually are like covered by like the top of the kind of not balcony but the yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. And you're kind of looking up at the screen, no matter where you are, you're looking up at the
Hmm.
screen. So it has this again a very basement kind of grindhouse sort of like feel to when you go in there in a cinema like that. Um, and kind of like Saffron Screen has its own charm in a similar
Yeah.
way, or almost in an opposite way in terms of
Yeah.
because we're a community cinema and we're in a school, and that obviously we've got you know the top equipment that a lot of the mainstream cinemas use, but we are in a school when we're in a school hall technically, right? They use that for assemblies and things like that, and so it's kind of yeah, it has its own sort of home crafted feel to it. It feels independent. It doesn't feel like anything that's trying to look like what it isn't. So yeah, like you say, like obviously we're kind of making jokes about the staff and everything, but like there is a weird like kind of connection that I feel like when you love your own independent cinema,
Yeah.
you kind of gain an affection a lot of the time for
For
just
other
kind of
one.
independent cinema, yeah, like across the country or across the globe. And again, like when I was studying in Bristol, I loved the Watershed, which was right off the city centre.
And a shout out to my favorite independent cinema, the
Yeah,
Leeds Hyde Park Picture House.
it's nice. I'll have to go sometime if I'm ever in
You should.
Leeds. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but as you're saying, like, it just kind of feels like you've got with independent cinemas, it feels like you don't really know what you're getting. You're getting kind of your own personalized experience. Whereas when you go into kind of a mainstream cinema, they're all sort of in somewhat the same as each other
Yeah.
because you're all going to go through uh, multiple corridors, multiple screens. You've got
Yeah.
big counters, popcorn machines. I mean, we have popcorn machines, but not nearly as many as they do in
Yeah.
mainstream cinemas. So it just feels like you've got um, a great personalized experience when you step into an independent cinema. And I'm excited for that to be reflected then on screen.
A documentary about an independent cinema might not be the thing that you expect to do well in a lot of places, even a lot of independent cinemas. But like, I always remember being in my time volunteering at Saffron Screen. I remember being shocked when we got 100 people in for Hello Bookstore, which was a documentary in black and white about a bookstore in America, an independent bookstore in America that struggled during the pandemic, and then we got over 100 people in for that. Um,
Yeah,
so I'm
I
kind of I have the faith, I
the
don't know if
faith.
that's the
Yeah,
right word, in the
yeah,
audience of Saffron Screen that they would also kind of come to something like this. I would not just expect like an empty room like I might expect for
no.
a lot of documentaries
I mean,
in a lot of different places.
it feels like support for independent cinema as a whole. And I will mention that this is also shot in black and white. Um,
Yes, yeah, it
and
is.
yeah, so I feel like it kind of represents sort of the timelessness of independent cinema. Like it's always been,
Mm,
and it hopefully always will be. That was kind of how I saw it. But I don't know if anyone has kind of picked up on that. But yeah, I don't know if
yeah,
that was the
yeah.
intention. Sorry, but
I don't know, or it's just classic
yeah,
art house pretentiousness that
yeah,
we all love to indulge
we all
in
know and love
sometimes.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I will also say that it's based on kind of stories told by workers, past and present, and kind of uh, experiences that these cinema workers have had working at the cinema at the Prince Charles Cinema, and it's made by um, Phil Freitas. There's so many names in this episode that I just cannot pronounce. And he is a former usher turned manager um, who has made this feature comedy. So
yeah.
he's just working at the cinema, and he's decided to celebrate it with this documentary that only cost £6,000 to make.
I mean, it should be easy for it to turn a profit then. Hopefully, if
Yeah,
the
no,
good people of
definitely.
Saffron Walden come out to see it, and yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Maybe we should make one if this does well about Saffron Screen.
No, absolutely. I've already got plans. I'm
Yeah,
gonna e- everyone who's listening to this podcast right now, just shoot us an email and we will we'll feature you in the Saffron Screen documentary.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We'll
first
have to.
come,
We'll
first
have to.
serve.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That's not an official announcement. Just so,
No, it's
so
not. I
everyone's
will preface. I do not have the time.
no. Well, but we do hope you have the time to see the regulars, which is on when, Emily?
The Regulars is showing on the 25th of August, which is, as I said, a Monday, and that's at 7:30 as well. And just once, so um, get in before the staff do.
Yes. Yeah.
You'll be sat
Yeah.
with,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
guarantee, the entire cohort of the Saffron Screen staff and
Screen staff.
volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably.
and I mean, it's a good chance to kind of we as staff members really like to sort of chat about the film afterwards. So um, if you're coming to see it, there'll be a lot of people hanging around after the film
Yeah.
that you can talk to, that you can discuss kind of either the film or independent cinema itself. A little debrief at the end.
Yeah.
If you don't have to rush home, is quite nice. with our staff and volunteers.
We've given a lot of love to like independent cinema and these kind of artistic films a little bit more. But before we leave you, I'm just gonna just kind of say we have got more mainstream films. We have got family films that we've got going on. We've got Bad Guys 2. We've got Smurfs. We even have Elio coming back and for a few screenings if you missed it, Lilo and Stitch as well. And probably maybe one of the more eye-catching things is the Fantastic Four First Steps, which I know a lot of people are excited for. So yeah, and again, there's even more sort of indie films that we haven't mentioned on this podcast, but there is a mix of things next month. So yeah, if you're looking to take your family to the cinema and nothing we've talked about today really ticks that box for you, we do have tons of stuff still in August. Cool. I think that just about wraps up the episode. I hope that I have done Riley proud
I
with
think
this
so.
hosting effort. So, but we'll see. We'll have to see what Riley says when they're back for the next episode.
Absolutely.
Until then,
Bye
thank you
bye.
all for listening.